Warning. This podcast may contain spoilers from whatever TV show or movie is mentioned. Please listen at your own discretion. Welcome to Viewers Anonymous.
What's going on? I am Scooch Bronson.
And I am S. Foster.
And this is the Viewers Anonymous podcast. What's going on with you, bro?
Oh, man, I can't call it, man. Listen, we're a couple days late on it, man. But listen, I've been so excited for this episode, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. I had to go back and listen to a couple episodes. Had to go back and watch a couple episodes to catch back up with it, because I remember when you first talked about this on an old, I want to say it was Stolen Time. I think you and Uncle Washington were talking about it a while back, and I went back and watched a couple episodes. The first time I watched it was because of y'all, but I had went back and watched a couple episodes to kind of refresh my memory and shit. Man, listen, the way that they put that bad boy together was amazing.
Hey, shout out to Ezra Edelman, man. That's literally one of this might be my favorite documentary of all time, simply because it really have all the makings, for me personally, all the makings of a great documentary, because you get Black history, you get American history, you get sports. I get old footage. I am a fiend for old footage. I love watching old footage of stuff and stuff that's not in color and things like that. And to get it on out there, what we're talking about is the 2016 documentary OJ Made in America. It's one of ESPN. I think they kind of added it to the 30 for 30 thing, but
yeah, they did.
Yeah, but it's kind of like its own thing too, because it's so
they
different.
called it a 30 for 30 special.
Yeah, because it's 7 hours of running time, almost 8 hours. So it's a lot of stuff to watch, and they put in so much information, and it's but what I'm ready for, because I didn't have a chance to rewatch it. I had a lot going on, but I have a lot of it in my memory.
You got a great memory though, so you good.
But so when we get to part 3, that's when shit gonna get crazy when we get to part 3. But as far as his early life, what I remember from those episodes was his family, packing up and leaving Louisiana and going out to California, and and they stayed in these old army barracks, and that was the hood. You know what I'm saying? It was
that was San Francisco's Section 8. Basically.
Yeah. And so obviously it was a huge probably only Black population. And, and OJ was dealing with, things with his dad, and I guess we could go ahead and reveal it. Because it was in part 1 where his dad was an undercover gay man, basically. And they were saying that the worst thing to be in America, not only are you Black, but you gay at the same time.
Yeah.
You're a man that's so OJ was kind of dealing with things like that growing up. But then what was funny was when they got to high school, and that's when we started to meet OJ's friends, and his friend told a story of, he had told 2 stories. One story, it ain't really got nothing to do with nothing. They was just talking about how they was all in the bathroom shooting craps, and then the principal and he was they was walking up to the office, and OJ was just in the back, lingering in the back, and then once they walked into the office, OJ now snuck off on them. And it's
he said, OJ, he said, Arthur, what are you doing here? He said, I was just helping him I was just helping him bring these 2 down here. Yeah. He said, well, you go ahead and go. That motherfucker got skirted up out of there, boy.
No, but that tells you, that right there, that little part tells you his personality. And we're going you're going to see more of those characteristics, because then when it comes to the other story his friend told, and this was my man that was actually, because I didn't know this at the time. Like when this stuff happened in '94, when I saw, I mean, we ain't gonna get deep into it because we're gonna really cover it later. But when I saw the Bronco, I always thought OJ was driving. You know what I'm saying? But it was actually his friend from high school.
Yeah, he was in the back seat.
Yeah, OJ was in the back seat with a gun to his head. So it's this friend, and so they was going to a party, and OJ knew that he was talking to OJ's ex-wife, like, well, before it was his wife or whatever, whatnot. But so she was talking to his friend, and OJ went and picked her up, and my man just let it go. You know what I'm saying? But see, that also tells you, like, OJ looks out for himself. Like when his other friend got caught in the jam, he tells them, "Oh, I was just helping him bring him up here." And then you steal your other friend's girl, and he just let that shit go. And it's like, it tells you right there, like, what type of person OJ is.
Yeah. Well, for me, I thought it was very interesting the way that they put this episode together, because the beginning of it, they showed all of the different things that were kind of going on around the time when OJ was younger. So, you know what I'm saying, you had like the war, you had the, you know what I'm saying, the revolution and all this other stuff going on. And then they were, you know what I'm saying, basically just going through how his life was. And, you know what I'm saying, like you said, they were basically living in old army barracks. And then they turned the army barracks into like public housing or whatever. And so him growing up in this public housing environment, or the hood, you know what I'm saying, as we call it, like he seemed as a kid growing up like he would just basically be one of us. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that lived in that situation before, like he just seemed like a young black kid living in, you know what I'm saying, the hood. And, you know what I'm saying, they talked about how, I remember they had the one scene where they was all sitting down in like a circle. They was like on couches and chairs or whatever. And he was talking about how they would break into people's houses. They would rob people, like doing shit that people in poverty usually do. You know what I'm saying? Like just to get by. And then I remember his one friend talking about how they would all be sitting outside and playing, and then it'd get dark and it'd be dinner time. And he would tell OJ, you know what I'm saying, come with me, you know what I'm saying, you come eat at my house. And, you know what I'm saying, like OJ was like the youngest of, you know what I'm saying, like a bunch of brothers and sisters. So you could tell like they didn't really have that tight sense of family. It was just like everybody go out there and get it on their own. And so when you had just said that, like, yeah, he kind of, you know what I'm saying, just look out for himself. But, you know what I'm saying, for me, it kind of made sense, because it was like he was basically looking out for himself since he was a kid. So really that's all he knew. He didn't really have anybody else to kind of show him any other way outside of that. And then, you know, like this incident in school where they get caught, you know what I'm saying, like you said, shooting dice, or, you know what I'm saying, him taking his friend's girl, or just, you know what I'm saying, anything for that matter. Like you kind of seen like he had it early in his mind, like it was about, and I don't know if it was like him being selfish or him just so used to trying to survive that's the mindset that he had. But it was like, for me, I felt like he was just always trying to make sure that he had the advantage, he had the upper hand.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. And then also, like, they gave us the, you know, because all of this whole, especially when it came to episode 1 and 2, it was really a build up, and like they're showing you how originally all the white people stayed in Compton.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening, that huge migration of black people coming in, and then started moving out of Compton, and then it left kind of Compton, White, South Central, all that type shit to the black people, and they moved on to, you know, they moved because they used to stay in Inglewood too, and they moved out of Inglewood. So what that shows you is like they're showing you how the LAPD totally shifted the way that they was patrolling these neighborhoods, and then because a lot of the people that left the South, they were just hearing by word of mouth, oh, well, you go out to California, it's not like this. Or you go out to LA, it's not like this. They don't do you like that. And the difference is, it's just that different kind of racism. Mm-hmm. And like police turned into a gang that was just protecting the white neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And if any black people got near that shit, they was cracking down on y'all. And so that they're giving us like the background of how the LAPD started treating black people. Yeah. And so I think that's something else that OJ kind of realized as well, on his way into going into USC, because when he went to USC, he's surrounded by all white people. But the crazy thing about USC was it's in the middle of downtown, and it's like, and they would tell like the students like, hey, don't leave the campus and go this far because you're going to go into the black neighborhood type shit. And so I think that with OJ, I think that the OJ that we ended up getting, I think it started from his childhood, but I think that what really molded him out was when he went to USC and started getting the success that he got there, where he got the whole thing of, yo, I'm OJ, I'm not black type thing.
Well, I think you're right about that 100%, but I think the persona of OJ kind of started before he got to USC. I think it was when he started playing football in high school. And so you started to see like all of these schools and, start looking at him and giving him all these praise. But you seen his coaches and, people around him start treating him different when they realized that he was actually good at playing football. And I think that what ended up kind of happening was he started getting, in a way, like, and I know it's like cheesy to say, but he started getting the love that, he never could get from his family. So for him to receive that kind of love and then, in high school and then turn around and then in USC, I'm sure that they was treating black people a different kind of way. And, it's like you said, they told you not to even go to one side of town. So then they go to USC, and then now, like, you got all of these white people smiling. You got all of these white people treating you different. They're not treating you like they're treating your friends or the other people that look like you in the school. You basically feeling like one of them. And it was a scene in I think either episode 1 or 2 where he was at like I think he was like signing a letter or whatever. Like when he was an incoming freshman or whatever, and he was signing a letter, like a signing day thing. And if you look at that or go back and see that scene, like you see that everybody in there is white except for like 1 or 2 people in the crowd that's, watching. And it's like 1 or 2 black people you could see in there. And then the rest of them is just a whole bunch of white people. And then you got to remember as well, like when he's coming up in these times, like we don't really hear from his mom. We don't really hear from his dad, none of his brothers or sisters or any of them. It's usually just OJ. And then, you hear from a couple of his friends, but mainly it's just OJ. And then like once they start talking about college, you don't even hear his friends for real.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true. And yeah, because I believe that when he signed the letter, I think it was just his mom that was there. I can't remember if his dad was there, but his dad ended up dying soon after. But also one of the most crucial things was, and this is what makes this documentary so great, is 1968 comes around. And I think this was right. Oh man, I wish I knew factually, but it was right around the time he won the Heisman Trophy. And then it was coming up. I think the Olympics was coming up, and that's when all black athletes boycotted the Olympics. And so they asked OJ about it, and then OJ started talking about, oh, well, I don't want to be seen as a black athlete. I want to be seen as, OJ, running back from USC and all this type stuff. And like, they had Dr. Henry, not Henry, but Harry Edwards, he spoke about it. and all this type of stuff. But they didn't do a full black boycott. Some people, because that's when we got the because that was in Mexico City. That's when we got John Carlos and
Tommy
Smith.
Tommy Smith,
yeah. That's when we got the black power fist. And also shout out to Peter Norman. Everybody never want to shout him out, but Peter Norman went through hell just wearing a pin, for what Australia ended up doing to him. That was fucked up how they did that, man. But he was talking about it. He was also invited to the famous picture of Jim Brown, at the time Lou Alcindor, Ahmad Rashad was there, Muhammad Ali.
It was Bill Russell was there.
Bill Russell, he was invited to that. He didn't want to go. So that kind of started to tell you, like, oh man, like this dude is shaping to be something different. Like it's like it's really that type of thing of like you were saying earlier, like he's fending for himself. And it's like OJ didn't really care about any of the outside stuff that was going on. He didn't really care about how black people was treated, because in his eye, he's like, I'm being treated good. So he didn't really care about how the overall black people was being treated. He was like, well, they're treating me good here. I won a Heisman Trophy. Like, I'm good. So it just seems like OJ really only cared about himself, and he didn't really care about social issues.
And I also think, like, another thing that was going on as well, like, he was married to his first wife at this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had just got married. So, I remember because they had interviewed, they did like a little piece, or I guess they was getting interviewed, but they was asking her, like, how does it feel, being on, USC campus? And she seemed like she didn't really have a lot to say, but, like she felt like, everything was going good. So, I mean, for him to be, newly married, for him to be a freshman, and for him to be highly touted as he was, and then, going through everything that he went through there, and they treated him so well, and then to go on later on, and then, like, to, to see kind of everything that's going on, but he's not, he can't relate to that. There's no relation to, being treated wrong or being talked to or wrong or anything like that. And like, even in the one part where like he was talking to, I forgot who it was the one white guy, I think he was like a coach or something, and he was telling them about how he was sitting at the table, and one of the ladies was like, hey, look at OJ sitting over there with those niggers. So even then, like, from that perspective, that also helped him feel like he wasn't, a part of the black community, because they was looking at him as somebody separate. And then you got to remember, we adding all this around, Hollywood. So like he's at a function with what's dude's name, man, that did the USO stuff? Dick Clark. Yeah, Dick Clark.
Oh,
He's
Dick
at
Clark.
a function, and Dick Clark is on the not Dick Clark, Bob Hope. That's what I'm thinking of, my fault. He's at a function where Bob Hope is on the stage, and he talking, and he mentioning OJ, like he's talking to reporters, and he's taking pictures with actors and actresses. Like, they come into his games. So it's like, he is already OJ at this point. He's not even Orenthal. Like, he's OJ. He's no longer Orenthal James. Like, he's to the point to where he's just as famous as the people in the movies, and he's just as famous as, guys like Bob Hope and singers and, all these guys. He's basically a part of American pop culture at this point, and he's only in college. He's not even in the league yet. He ain't even been drafted yet. I don't even think he won the Heisman at this point when all this was going on.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the benefits of going to USC, especially in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles couldn't have a sport as far as football. They couldn't be a sports fanatic, because the Rams was in and out. Well, they wasn't in and out yet. I don't even think they had. They had
the Rams and the Raiders.
But was they there in the 60s though? I can't remember if they was there. So, but like
the Rams and the Raiders.
But USC overseeded that. Like even like in our present time, like when Reggie Bush and them was on their run, like they was like the biggest LA. Like
you gotta remember at that time LA didn't have a team anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like
so for like a perfect analogy would be like for us, like in Ohio, like Ohio State is over the NFL teams. Like if you know what I'm saying, if you come to Ohio, like Ohio, you're gonna see Ohio State stuff everywhere. You're not really gonna like in certain areas you'll see the Bengals, certain areas you see the Browns, but like Ohio for a long time, maybe like not now, because now, you know what I'm saying, like some of the teams are getting a little bit better, but for the most part, like Ohio State was the team, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a college team. So like that they were like the pinnacle of football for us.
Oh yeah, for sure. And let's not be mistaken, as far as like college, like OJ was that deal from the very beginning. People got to understand, like a lot of people don't really like talking about OJ's football career because of what we're gonna get into later. But the dude was like raw talent. Like that dude was he. There's a reason why some people consider him one of the best college running backs to play in college football. Like he was well deserving of winning that Heisman Trophy. So let's get that out there. He was very deserving of what he got. And like you were saying, like his stardom became, you know, phenomenal. And so what ended up happening is, you know, he wins the Heisman. And like I said, a lot of the black people, they like it got to the point where like they really didn't care because like they love.
Yeah, they're starting to resent him.
Yeah, they're like this dude, like he's good. And so draft come around, and I think they mentioned this in the film where they was like there was a possibility that he could have went to the Buffalo Bills and he didn't want to go. And so then he ended up getting drafted by the Buffalo Bills, and they said that he discussed it with people like when he first got there, it was snowing, and he was like he didn't really play, and the coach didn't fit. He didn't fit the coach's scheme. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like going in the Buffalo,
because he wanted him to be a out of the backfield running back.
Yeah, not only
not what OJ did,
but that like they wanted to pass him the ball and stuff. When he was at USC, I don't think he caught one ball. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, his coach is trying to throw balls out the backfield, got him running routes like a receiver, and so OJ began his first like 2 years.
Almost year and a half, because they switched coaches the next year.
Yeah, they switched coaches because like a lot of people was looking at OJ like, damn, like at USC he was killing like this dude. And they considered him a bust until they got that new coach, and then that new coach, he was just basically a run heavy coach. But what he did, not only did he, you know what I'm saying, switch the whole offense up, he brought in different offensive linemen as well. So he in these offensive linemen there where OJ was getting all of these carries. Now I don't care what nobody say, because like there's only been a couple of backs to cross 2,000 yards in the season. OJ is the first one to do that.
Yep.
What people got to realize is, I believe it was only 14 games. So for somebody to rush for 2,000 yards in 14 games, people got to stop shitting on OJ the running back, man.
Well, I think that, you know what I'm saying, what ended up happening kind of diminished his whole football career, because like you got to remember, like OJ was the dude, you know what I'm saying? Like remember, he had endorsed. He was the first guy to be on an automobile endorsement with Chevy. You know what I'm saying? He had endorsements with Hertz. I mean, like he had hella endorsements. Like to be honest with you, he might be the first football player to be endorsing products, like the way he will to be the forefront of endorsing products. Like, remember when before he even started in Buffalo, he was on a TV show with Joe Namath.
Yep.
And him and Joe Namath was sitting down talking about the upcoming season. You said what?
I said OJ. I mean OJ. Joe Namath couldn't even say his name right. And he was like, "What was your name?" Because like you said, James wrong. Like he didn't say it the way OJ pronounced it. So that's a great point.
So I mean, like he what I'm saying, like this is a guy who has basically been a star since he's been in college. He's been the centerpiece of attention since he's been in college. And so he eventually goes in, well, really since high school, and then he goes into the NFL and basically does the same thing, but he's on a larger scale now. So like now is 10 times the amount that he was feeling in college. It's 10 times, 100 times the amount he was feeling in high school. So now it's like everybody loved OJ. There was nobody who disliked OJ except for the person who was the team he was playing against that week. But outside of that, like, everybody fucked with OJ. And then, all of this stuff is still going on outside of, him playing football. And, like he doesn't even, he don't even acknowledge it.
Yeah. And then like with him getting all of that success and like, well, that's when the nickname The Juice came about. When he got the 2,000-yard season, they started calling him. And so with getting all of those commercials, like you mentioned, like he was really the first like mainstream athlete. Well, really, I think he was the first athlete. Because like it was so funny when they was talking about the Hertz commercial. And it's so crazy. Like I want to give Hertz some credit here because they thought about something that you feel like, how we always say like when the H&M thing happened and the Gucci thing happened, it was like, y'all need a black person in the room to say, yo, this ain't gonna go over well with the black community.
Right.
So, this actually was the reverse. Like they didn't have no white people in the room, but they understood they were dealing with a black person. So they were saying that the whole ad of the thing was he was, plane got there late. He's running through the airport, and it's not gonna look good for a black man to be running through the airport. They was like, at some point, a cop is gonna tackle that dude thinking he stole something or some shit.
Right.
So it was smart of the people that was in that room, the advertising room with the Hertz, because they was like, look, a way that we can make it better is that everybody know who he is and white people cheering him on while he's running through the airport. And I thought that shit was genius. And then you had the old lady saying, go, OJ, go. Like just to even think about that, like having a room full of white people and like, yo, we got this black guy endorsing our stuff. And even they know it don't look good seeing a black person running through an airport. Like that shit ain't go over well. So for them to think about that was smart. Now, what also come with all that advertisement is him having to go back and forth back to Hollywood. And that when he's at a bar with some friends and the waitress come to the table to take their order. Now, at the time, OJ got, I think him and his wife had 2 kids, and it was open, like the close friends knew that OJ was cheating with his wife. Like they knew what was going on, but that's one of those type things like, yo, that ain't my business type stuff. So they knew that he was cheating on his wife. And so he's at this, I was about to say expensive, but this fancy diner, and this waitress caught his eye. He's like, yo, who was that? They're like, hey, that's this girl, Nicole, all this type stuff. And they said that he said right then and there, not even talking to the girl, he told his friend, I'm going to marry that girl. And then his friend is like, yo, you already married. Like, what you mean you going to marry that girl? And so he ended up, talking to her. And so they ended up going on a date. And she said from the very first date that he was aggressive with her, you know what I'm saying? He kind of made her, pushed her, pressuring her into doing some shit that she didn't want to do type thing. And so she told her sister about it because her sister was on the documentary as well. And her sister was like, yo, like, you already got warning signs. Like, this is not a good guy. And so, but Nicole really liked him. And so he ended up divorcing his wife and then marrying Nicole. And then that really shifted, like that shit, like for me, that's what really changed a lot of shit, because it's like, okay, you want to please the white people all the time. You want to be seen as OJ. You don't want to be seen as a black guy. But at the same time, it's like, it's different when you don't want to be seen as a black guy and you're married to a black woman. But then you don't want to be seen as a black guy and you marry a white woman and you're around all of her white family. I feel like it's different now.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily different. I think it was more so just what OJ wanted. Like, you got to remember, like, he's been around this shit since college. Like, this is his, in a sense, this has become his reality. You know what I'm saying? When he was in college, he was surrounded by nothing but white people, whether it was coaches, girls, all that. Like, and then, you know what I'm saying? He was married early in college. So, you know, he didn't get, I don't really think, like, he kind of foreseen himself being who he was going to end up being. And I think that once you get that level of fame and once you get that level of success, like, all that shit makes a hell of a fucking difference dealing with, you know, women and people and press and all that shit. So, you know, they looking at it, well, he was probably looking at it in a sense, and this is just me speaking, this is not necessarily anybody from the documentary, but he probably looking at it in the sense of, oh, you know, this is my way of, like you said, him going back and forth to Hollywood. This is my way of getting back to what I know. You know what I'm saying? This is my way of getting back into the way I want to feel. He didn't want to be in Buffalo. Everybody knows that he didn't want to be in Buffalo. But, you know, he was in Buffalo. He did what he had to do there. Eventually he gets, you know what I'm saying, sent to the 49ers. And then, shit, his career skyrocketed.
Well, his movie career skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He only played
not his football career.
Yeah, he only played. I don't even think he played the whole season when he went to the 49ers.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I mean when I say, like, when he got that taste of, you know what I'm saying, going back home, he was like, yo, I know what the fuck I want to do now. I'm going to get me a white wife. We're going to go back home. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to go back to where people love me like they love me at USC. And I'm going to make this the best of what the fuck I want to make it.
Yeah, and then he ended up getting a house in Brentwood and all the rest. Like, he's the first black person to move into Brentwood. Like, he was the first black out of all the actors, musicians, all that shit. Like, let's just call him a former football player, gets a house in Brentwood, and then OJ starts getting into these movies. And so, you know, he get into The Naked Gun, and it was another joint that he did. But there was one movie, it was so funny that they mentioned it because he, like, the guy was, I forget what the guy was, but it was a role where the person was unapologetically black in this movie.
Yeah.
And OJ went for the part and didn't get it. And he was doing an interview on this TV show, and he was saying that I felt that part was written for me and all this type shit. And it's like, and then they were showing parts of that. It's like, no, the fuck it ain't. Like,
but see, what you got to remember, he's not looking at it as an unapologetically black guy. He's looking at it as, I'm OJ. The part was written for me because I'm OJ, not because I'm a black dude, because I'm fucking OJ.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and you got to remember, he wasn't doing blaxploitation films like Jim Brown was. He wasn't doing it like Fred Williamson was. He was doing big movies.
Oh yeah.
He was doing major production movies.
Yeah, like Naked Gun. People don't look. Naked Gun is fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
Like, even to this day, like, and like, but he was the guy that was always, you know, getting his ass whooped and all that type shit. Like he was the partner that always got the worst end of the stick type of thing.
That was the whole joke of it.
Oh yeah. And but
you know
that's
like fucking primetime OJ getting his ass whooped. That's the best joke of it.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious. But he also started doing broadcasting during the same time.
Yeah.
So he's broadcasting games and he's doing movies. So everything is going well. But when it comes to home life, Nicole got pictures of getting beat up by OJ. Like there being 911 calls, cops coming out. It's kind of like what Uncle Washington always say. Like you beat your wife, they would tell the man, go down the street, walk it off. You know what I'm saying? And then bring it on back. Like there was never any charges ever brought up on OJ every time Nicole called the police and said she was being beat on. And even because his boyfriend, not the one that got the girl taken away from him, but like this was a guy that he was younger than OJ. He looked up to OJ. He played football. I think he went to the same high school that OJ went to. But he ended up becoming a cop. And so him and OJ formed a friendship. And so he was one of the people who became good friends with Nicole as well. And so, like I said, criminal and domestic violence calls going to the house. Nicole got so mad instead of Blake just getting out there.
Oh, fuck, go ahead.
No, you straight. And so we see that OJ is beating Nicole, and Nicole got this thing on her end where if she leaves OJ, not only is her life is going to change, but her family is going to change because OJ bought her people a house.
Yep.
OJ paying her people's bills. So they're benefiting off of her being with this former football player that is a broadcaster that's also in the movie. So he got all this bread.
That's a big time celebrity.
Oh, yeah. And so she's like, she has this pressure of I want to leave, and then not only does she want to leave, but he also is the father of two of her kids. So it's like, she's in this position like, if I leave, it's going to fuck up the shit with my family. And I think that she was looking at it like, well, he could just pull the cord at any time. And then his family is going to, her family is going to have to go back to the way that they was living before. Because you got to remember, she was just like a waitress. Like her people didn't make a lot of money. They were just, they was a comfortable white family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When OJ came about, when she married OJ, all of their lives changed. So she's dealing with a dude that she knows cheating on her. He beats the shit out of her. And she called the police, and the police don't do nothing about it because all the police are looking at him like, yo, there's OJ.
That's fucking OJ, yeah. Like, it's weird because we talking about, a black dude who basically is not getting his ass whooped by the police whenever he calls and is attacking a white woman. This is already amazing to me watching this shit. Like, so you mean to tell me that fucking OJ Simpson is not getting harassed and beat up on by beating on a white woman in this time period, in the one of the most racist times in America? Like, it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just amazed me. And then, like you said, like, he basically played his cards right. And I'm not sure if he did this like intentionally, but he played his cards right to the point to where he basically was like, hey, look, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of your family. Y'all not going to have to worry about anything. And I think that, you know what I'm saying, like you said, like that made a huge fucking difference because now, like, what the fuck are they going to do? If he decided to say, today, fuck it, we getting a divorce, I don't want you no more, then they asked out.
Yep. So, and it's because I remember hearing a lot of people saying, well, why she just won't leave? Why she just won't leave? Like, that, I mean, I would never want anybody to stay in an abusive relationship, whether it's physical. But I understood the pressure that she had on herself by thinking that, because we don't know how the family would react. Because if OJ was to pull that cord, like her family could be like, Nicole, you need to make this shit work. You know what I'm saying? Like, we about to lose this big ass house that OJ bought for us. because you're unhappy, because that could also be a situation where her family could not believe her. They could be like, oh, man, that ain't really happening. OJ would never do that. You know, so I understood the whole little thing of her, you know, struggling with the point of leaving. So her and OJ still had their battles. They still had their fights or whatever. So eventually she ends up leaving and getting a whole separation or whatever. And she was able to get her own place, and she, you know, she got a job and all this type shit. So she started, you know, meeting other people and things like that. OJ didn't like it. OJ, look, dude, OJ is a fucking creep. Okay?
Yes.
Like, there was one phone call that she had recorded, and OJ was like, yo, who's the fuck is that guy? You know, nah, man, I seen y'all fucking on the counter of the place that I paid for and all this shit. Motherfucker, you looking through the window? Like, you been a peak creep. Like, dude, it's crazy because first of all, let me say this. I hate these dudes. I hate dudes that'll go out and cheat on their girls, and then when their girls start fucking somebody else, and then they want to act like a damn bitch about it.
Yeah, now they all fucked up about it.
Yeah, like,
but see, this is once again, bro. This whole attention thing, or this, I want to say power dynamic. Really, this power dynamic comes into play because you got to remember, like, and this is one thing that when I'm watching this, I had to keep in mind as well. Like, in his head, he's OJ. If anybody knew who he was around this time, he knew who he was. And he knew better than anybody else. So anything that went against him, he was always going to have a problem with. He felt like there was nothing that he could do wrong. He felt like nothing could ever go wrong if he did it. Like, he felt like if he did something, he had the right to do that because he was OJ. He was the man. He was the star of basically life at this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time you turn around, he in a new commercial. Every time you turn around, he got a new endorsement. Now he in movies. He broadcasting. He on TV, you know what I'm saying, every now and then. So it's like, where could he go wrong? He got everything. He said he was going to get the woman he wanted. He got her. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for him, it's like anything that I want, anything that I say I'm going to do is going to happen. Anybody tells me any different, then it's going to be a problem.
Yes, sir. And then that's when the whole thing, like they sprinkled in some shit, but this is really took that turn because, like I said, they give you the backstory of everything. So then now we get into the thick, you know, the plotting of the thicking of the plot. But they start talking about a lot of the Black stuff that was going on in the neighborhoods. And like the one thing that stood out the most was two things. One thing was they got back on the LAPD and they showed this apartment where the police like completely destroyed the apartment. Like, just
they tore that motherfucker up.
Say they was looking for somebody, but the mess that they did to that woman's apartment was unnecessary. So she had a TV crew in there. She's showing, like, look, this is how they busted up my wall. This is how they did this. They broke my TV. Say that they looking for something and all of this type stuff. And they were just like this is the type shit that the police did. Like, they just, you know, they did shit like this. And then they got to talking about the chokehold and where the police chief at the time, you know, he had got into some shit because he said that, well, Black people they're not normal. You know, he was like, they use the same amount of strength on a Black person that they do a white person, but the Black people, we're not normal. So that's why we're dying when we're in the chokehold and white people isn't. And they was like, it got to a point where they was like the Black and the norms. So like, so see how the police are thinking about us. And like, if to have a police chief say on live TV that Black people are not normal, and this is why they're dying when they're in the chokehold. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. And then you also get the killing of Natasha Harling. Now, for a lot of people that don't know about Natasha Harling, like, she was just a 15-year-old girl in the neighborhood. She was going to the store to get some milk, the Korean lady accused this girl of stealing the milk, which was, this is the crazy part I don't understand. Well, there's a lot of shit I don't understand about it, but she's arguing with her at the counter.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to pay for the milk, but she's saying that she's trying to steal the milk.
Exactly.
So she throws the money at her, and then she turns around and walk off, and then she shoots her in the back of the head. It's like, why the fuck is she arguing with you at the counter if she was gonna steal it and she's giving you the money?
It's that sense of black people being, you know what I'm saying, the lowest on the totem pole. Like I said, that's why I said it amazed me so much that at this time, you know what I'm saying, we talking about OJ abusing a white woman physically and nothing's happening to him. When outside of this fantasy world that he's living in, you know what I'm saying, a black person could just be walking down the street and just get beat up on just for walking down the street in California at this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? We forget that a lot of times in history, you know what I'm saying, we talk about how racism was just in the South. And, you know what I'm saying, even in schools, like, they just try to teach you, like, racism was in the South. We forget that, like, it was a point in time where black people couldn't even go to the beach in L.A. because, you know what I'm saying, white people didn't want to share a beach with them. They didn't want to share swimming pools with them. Like, I think it was up until, like, the 90s or, like, late 80s to where black people couldn't even get in the same swimming pool as white people. You know what I'm saying? Like, all those, you know what I'm saying, like, segregation laws and shit like that was in the South. That shit wasn't for, you know what I'm saying, like, the northern and western states and the eastern states. Like, that shit was for the South. That shit didn't have shit to do with everywhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, to this day, we still talk about Boston being one of the most racist places you can go in America. You know what I mean? We talk about LA as if LA is this, you know what I'm saying, super, well, a lot of people say it's this big, you know, this super progressive place, when in actuality it's really not. Like, you know what I'm saying, if you look at the history of LA, it's a lot of racist shit that goes on there. Like, even we can break it down to just Hollywood itself. Hollywood is probably the most racist place in the world. You know what I'm saying? Not to be, you know what I'm saying, like, not to be vulgar, but the porn world in Hollywood, that's the most racist place in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the way that they categorize things, the way that they put movies and shit together. Like, but even, you know what I'm saying, like, with commercials, we watch commercials all the time. How many times do you see a dark-skinned black woman in a hair commercial? How many times do you see, you know what I'm saying, a dark-skinned black man and a dark-skinned black woman together on TV together? How many times do you see, you know what I'm saying, interracial couples? It's probably something that's happening now because, you know what I'm saying, like, now it's other places where, you know what I'm saying, they have film production and all that. But, you know what I'm saying, at the time, Hollywood was the place to go if you wanted to shoot something. Like, nobody was shooting a movie in Atlanta. Nobody was shooting a movie in Chicago or Columbus or New York. Everybody was shooting in LA. Everything was happening in LA. That was, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, Tinseltown. That's where everybody went to be a movie star. So now, you know what I'm saying, like, you got OJ in this mix to where nobody's looking at him like a normal black person. Everybody's looking at him as OJ. When he said, you know what I'm saying, I'm not black, I'm OJ. It was a reason he said that, because nobody looked at him as black. When you sitting at a table with everybody that look like you, and you overhear a lady say, look at him with all those niggers, you don't, you know what I'm saying, you don't feel that same thing that they feel because she separated. You know what I'm saying? They always separated OJ from us. And then it wasn't until, you know what I'm saying, the incident to where he started to basically be put in that lane, you know what I'm saying, that we were in.
And, like, there was one thing that was said by a person during this thing that I didn't like, because he was talking about, this white guy was talking about how good looking OJ was. Mm-hmm. And he was like, and he said that the reason OJ was good looking was because he had white features. I was like, yeah, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck is white features? Like, so, mm-hmm. And then he didn't realize that what he was saying was racist. It was
some bullshit. Yeah, it was some bullshit.
It's like, dude, no. So what you're saying is, you say that OJ is good looking because they have white features. So what you say, all black people are ugly? Like, I don't think he got what he said. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, what the fuck? Like, this shit is crazy as fuck. And so, within this documentary, they had, you know, people from the LAPD. You know what I'm saying? We'll get into Mark Fuhrman a little later. But like they had, guys that, that was on the ground and end up getting high positions and all this type of shit like that. So they was trying to get all the different points of views and all this type of shit. So to finish up the Latasha Harling thing, the Korean lady, which I forget what the white judge name was, but the Korean lady got probation.
Yep.
She get jail time for shooting her in the back of the head. A defenseless 15-year-old girl gets shot in the back of the head, and the Korean lady get nothing. That's going to be important a little bit later in the podcast. Then we get the beating, the first time it was really, really, really caught on camera. You get the Rodney King beating.
Rodney King, yep.
So, and the thing that sucked about Rodney King was they did the same thing to him in 1992 now. What they doing to people in 2020.
Yeah, they killing people now.
Well, but I'm talking about the assassinating his character. Well, he had priors and he's been arrested this many times and all the time. And we're like, yo, this shit is on camera. We don't give a fuck how many times he's been locked up. This dude is laying on the ground, defenseless, getting his ass. You know what I'm saying? And so we like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, we don't care. Like, okay, if he was resisting beforehand, okay. But they was taking turns beating this man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All of that shit was totally unnecessary. So what that did was they're giving you the build up, and what they're doing is they explaining to you what's going down, what's happening in Los Angeles at this time. Then now the podcast about to take a turn. So Nicole is leaving work, and supposedly she forgot something. She forgot something at work. I don't know if it was a jacket, something. So Ronald Goldman worked at the place, and they was like, yo, Nicole left us. He was like, I'll take it to her. So the whole thing with Ronald Goldman, that was just literally, you want to talk about, this is, if you could put a picture of somebody of wrong place, wrong time.
Man.
There's a picture of Ronald Goldman in there. Like, he was just wrong place, wrong time. So OJ had a commercial to shoot. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. So OJ had a commercial to shoot, but he was going over, he had got into an argument with Nicole. And so OJ makes his way, story goes, he makes his way over to Nicole's house. When he gets there, Ronald Goldman is there. And so he just automatically assumes this is one of the guys that she's fucking.
Right.
You know, and look, all this, we'll get into our discussion, but let's just call it right now.
This is just how everything was told.
Yeah. So allegedly he went over, Ronald Goldman was there. They all get into an argument. He ended up. Now, but people got to understand, his two of his kids are upstairs asleep. What is going on? All right. So allegedly he killed Ronald Goldman, killed Nicole, and now Ronald got stabbed a couple of times and he ended up bleeding out. But Nicole had her it wasn't even a throat slash. Like, there was meat taken out of her neck. Like this was a passion killing, how brutal Nicole was killed. And
they say.
No, I'm talking about the pictures.
I know, I'm just saying, they say a passionate killing. So they say.
Well, okay. All right. So we'll get there. So then the way the story goes, he gets in his car. Well, he gets in the Bronco, drives the Bronco home, Limo comes pick him up, take him to the airport. He goes to. So while he's in Detroit, that's when the whole frenzy happens of Nicole house being discovered. And so they call OJ, and they were just calling OJ to tell him, yo, your ex-wife is dead. And guy was found there. He's dead too. All this type shit. Because initially he was not a suspect. And he had an alibi by saying that he was, hey, I had a plane to catch. I had to, go out to Detroit, do this commercial, all this type shit. So then family members and friends who talked to Nicole, what a lot of people don't seem to realize about that documentary was Nicole wrote a lot of shit down, and she told a lot of her friends and family members of the shit that was going on with her.
Yeah,
and
they got they had a phone call recently. I think maybe about like 2 years back. They had a phone call that had where I guess she was calling one of her family members or whatever, and OJ was in the background like yelling and screaming at her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
they got a lot of that type shit of like really explaining like how volatile their relationship was.
Yeah,
and her friends knew how much he hated, her. Even though he was doing his thing, he didn't want Nicole sleeping with nobody else. So then what ended up happening was, the glove was discovered, and that's when they looked at his Bronco, found blood in the Bronco that he had drove over to her place, and that he had drove back, because like what he did, he parked the car on the side road or whatnot over at his house. And so they found blood there. So they kind of matched the blood from the Bronco and the scene, all this type of shit. And then that's when they was getting ready to charge him. Ended up showing up to the funeral. Allegedly, some people were saying that he had sunglasses on, but they were like under the sunglasses, they was like he looked zoned out. They said he looked like he took some drugs. And a lot of the people was upset that OJ showed up, because at this time it was out that he was a potential suspect. And he showed up to the funeral, whether awake. And so a lot of people was kind of funny about him showing up to the awake and all that type shit. So before we get to the Bronco scene, is there anything else that you wanted to say?
OJ didn't do it. That's
it. And so then we get the whole thing of, all right, we're gonna charge him. Robert Kardashian was his lawyer. Robert Kardashian was given the responsibility of turning OJ in at a certain time. And the one cop dude was pissed, because he was like, this happens for nobody. He was like, that this is not a thing where, hey, we're going to turn him in at 2:00. He was like, happens for nobody, but he's like, they did it for OJ. And so he was left out to dry, because when it was past 2:00, people were sitting in there waiting for the reports of OJ being locked up. And so the cops go out there like an hour later and was like, yo, we don't know what OJ is. And now we are officially like hunting him down, basically, because he was supposed to turn himself in at 2:00. It's an hour later. He's not here. So Robert Kardashian is all jacked up, because they was at Robert Kardashian's house. And OJ was up there. And they said that OJ was in the bathroom crying, wrote a whole letter talking about how he gonna kill himself and all this type of shit. And then that's when the whole fucking chase happens.
With him and Al Collins.
Yes. So him and Al, talk to the cops, and that's when we get, dude, it was so crazy how we're talking about, people got to understand, this is 1995. No.
96.
94. No, it was 94.
Oh, yeah, 94, because the Rockets was in the championship.
Yes. So they're going down the freeway. Now, people got to understand, this is 1994. There's no social media.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy part about the chase was the fact of motherfuckers could see where they was headed. And these motherfuckers camping out on bridges with signs, talking about how they love OJ. This is present time. Listen, no social media.
Yeah.
This is just people watching the news, hearing the news. OJ is on whatever. And motherfuckers like, yo, they ain't made it to the bridge yet. So let's make this sign, drive to the bridge, and fucking stand on top of the bridge and hold up fucking signs. Like, dude, it was the most unreal shit I've ever seen. Like, to watch that footage of OJ going down the drive, OJ and Al going down the freeway, and for people to be lined up on the interstate, on bridges, in present time, with no social media, no cell phones. Well, it might have been cell phones. It was cell phones. But, like, it was just so crazy how quickly all that stuff happened.
Yeah. I mean, it just go to show you, man, just how much of, and it's crazy that we even saying, like, in 1994, after, like, all of this shit is even going on, bro, like, just how much star power he really had. The fact that people were still loving him the way that they loved him, even after the football, even after the movie, because by this time, like, he really wasn't doing movies and shit like that. Like, OJ was like a shell of himself. He was barely like a celebrity at this time. I mean, we was, you know what I'm saying, like, we were seeing about him in, like, tabloids and shit, but, like, once, you know what I'm saying, at that time, when you got to the tabloids, you was washed up. So to even, you know what I'm saying, like, be hearing about OJ, you know what I'm saying, like, in the love that people was giving him, even knowing the situation that was going on, it just kind of shows you just, like, once again, this fantasy world that he lived in. And for him to be in and I don't know, maybe somebody coached him into it or something like that, because from seeing the interviews of OJ and from listening to OJ, like, he don't seem like the brightest light bulb in the box. You know what I mean? So for him to come up with this plan of, I'm going to basically kill myself, let's ride around in this Bronco, you know what I'm saying, and find somewhere until they basically leave us alone, was just crazy to me. And then, like, to see the people on the, you know what I'm saying, on the, not even just the highway, like, it was people in the streets, it was people at his house, it was people, like, everywhere with, like you said, with these signs and just showing them love and all this admiration. It was crazy. And they cut off the fucking NBA Finals for that shit.
NBA Finals and the Major League
that
what they call it? World Series.
World Series, yep.
It's like, dude, it was insane. I mean, it was mayhem. And then, like, even the whole point of them, OJ is talking to, you know, cops and stuff on the phone, and they're like, hey, we're gonna go to his mom. They didn't go to his house. They went to his mom.
Right.
So all the police went to his mom's house, and all of these people lined up at his mom's house. And so they pull up in the driveway. He sits out in the car for a while. Then OJ is able to get out of the car, and they're able to take him in. Okay, so then, you know, that's when we introduced the Marshall Clark and what's my man name? Motherfucking Chris Darden. Chris Darden. Now, when OJ realized that it was going to go to trial, he had hired what's my dude name? The one guy that hated that motherfucking ass, the white guy.
I forgot what his name was.
Damn, I wish I could remember his name. But he was known as a Hollywood fixer. Like, he wasn't no trial attorney. He's never done anything criminal. And Robert Kardashian never was that type of lawyer either.
Right. So
they hire Johnny Cochran. Mm-hmm. And Johnny Cochran, you know, comes with Carl Douglas and the other, because they created this dream team of lawyers. You know, it really was only. I don't want to call it a dream team.
It was just Johnny Cochran.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say the big three because Carl Douglas ended up being really big, and then the one old guy. They showed footage of him like back in like the 30s or some shit. Like
the
he
bald
was.
Head dude?
I don't think he was bald. He had all white hair.
Okay, I ain't thinking of the same person.
So, but even the dude that they hired to do like the forensics and stuff, like he was very well. So, you know, they go to trial, and what people got to realize is, while OJ's going on trial, that's when the cops who beat it Johnny Cochran they was finishing up their trial.
You mean Rodney King?
Well, Rodney King, my bad. Fuck,
yeah.
Rodney King. So the verdict comes down on Rodney King before OJ. So then you get the LA riots, all the shit that's going on. Yep. Now, the fact, a lot of people didn't understand why Koreatown took a hit. Koreatown took a hit because of the Korean lady that shot Latasha Harley. The black people were just like, yo, even though this shit happened 2 years ago, we gonna go fuck them up too while we fucking everything else.
Well, another thing is if you grew up in the hood or any predominantly black neighborhood and you had to go around like corner stores or bodegas or any of those, whatever they call them. We call them corner stores where I'm from. But if you went to the corner stores and you know what I'm saying, like they was usually all Korean or all Asian, some type of Asian, but usually Korean. And they would like treat you like shit. They would follow you around the store. You know what I'm saying? Like if you undecisive about some shit, they'd talk to you crazy. Hurry up. You need to hurry up, get out, like all kind of shit. So like it wasn't surprising, especially to me having been through that situation. Like it wasn't surprising that they went after the Korean stores. Like I think this was more so not just about white cops. I think it was just it was a buildup of, you know what I'm saying, being sick and tired of being treated like shit. Like for so long in this country, we've always been treated second class. We've always been looked down on. We've always been at the bottom of the totem pole. So when we finally explode, we're not just going to explode on, you know what I'm saying, the white people that we think is just attacking us. No, we're going to explode on everybody. You know what I'm saying? Anybody who's done us wrong, like you're going to get a piece of this shit too, because everybody's going to know how we feel about this shit. And I think that's what really ended up culminating into what the LA riots was.
Yeah, because like the cops, they ended up getting off on all charges. And, you know, what happened at the intersection of Normandy, I forget what the other street name was. I know it was Normandy. And like, so the helicopter people, they're just videotaping all of this shit. And it's like look at it how you want to see it, call it how you want to call it. But I mean, what was really happening was every white person just got it that day. You know what I'm saying? So the truck driver,
flipped this whole shit over.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of the dude in the middle of the street, and nothing done because the police were told to stand packed, protect the white neighborhoods, make sure they keep that shit all in their black neighborhood. So basically, you got no police, you got no fire department, you got nothing. And so they basically just let the whole area burn because they're like, yo, as long as they burning down the neighborhood where they stay. Now, keep in mind, I didn't say what they own. I didn't say they burn down. I said they burn down shit where they stay.
Key part.
So, we're going to let them keep that shit over there. We're going to protect downtown. We're going to protect where all the white people stay. We're going to let them tear all the shit of where they live around. Let them tear that shit up. So that happens before the OJ verdict. And also, you got to keep in mind is the whole time that shit is going down, the commissioner guy, not the commissioner, but what you call him? Like the police chief guy, he was doing like this fundraiser shit. Like he was non-bothered. Like, he knew what was going on. He just didn't give a shit. This motherfucker's raising money for some whole other shit. Knowing what's going on outside, he just really didn't care. So with that going on, the OJ trial is going on, and then the OJ trial takes a turn because it turns into race. And then Mark Fuhrman comes up. Mark Fuhrman, like, so basically they turned this whole murder trial. And I will say this, I feel bad for the Brown and the Goldman family because it really turned into
black versus white.
And it turned into an indictment on how the LAPD was treating black people.
Yep.
So it completely ignored it. Like it wasn't a murder trial anymore. It was
more so. It was like a circus. Like it became this thing to where they stopped focusing more so on who was murdered and who killed who. And I think you just pointed out something real important too. Like, I think that in this whole trial, it went from that to, okay, we just let off these cops for beating this dude on camera, and the people see it and they spaz the fuck out. Now, what do you think is going to happen when we say OJ, or if we say OJ is guilty? What do we think is going to happen, or what do we think is going to, transpire after this verdict comes out that OJ may be guilty? That might be something that we can't control, because we've seen what just happened when they when they just tore up where they stay. This could be something that spreads out, and the cops may not be able to handle this shit. Like, yeah, it's cool to say, to keep downtown and all that, cool, but what happens when they stop doing that where they at and then start moving somewhere else? So now it's becoming a thing of, do we find a way to make him as innocent as possible and basically calm all this shit down, or do we just go ahead and do our normal and say that this motherfucker is guilty?
And like, my thing was the whole reason it took the shift into focusing on the police was they wanted to discredit the police. Yeah. And so they found a way to discredit Mark Fuhrman, because Mark Fuhrman, they asked him a question about, have you ever used the word nigga to describe black people? He says no. They pull out the tape. They found this tape of Mark Fuhrman saying nigga like 10 times.
17,000 times.
So what that did was, all right, so we got a cop that just lied on the stand. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then with that, then they start showing video of the one cop. He put a blanket from inside the house on top of the road. And there's like, is that protocol? He's like, no. He's like, well, why did you do it? Well, because her body was just exposed. We just wanted to cover up the body. And they was like, well, different fibers and all types of shit like that could be like a whole, that could throw up a lot of DNA by taking a blanket inside her house and putting it on a dead body. Then they showed a tape of a guy that worked with forensics. He was picking up shit with his hands, didn't have gloves on. Yep. Then the same cop that put the blanket on top of Nicole, he take blood samples. This motherfucker, he don't go in. This motherfucker goes home. Yep. He goes home. The blood samples stay out in his car all night. And then the next morning, he takes the blood samples in. They asked him, was that protocol? He's like, no. So what that did was it created that probable cause. Yep. You know what I'm saying? That shadow of a doubt. Like, yo, y'all botched a whole bunch of shit inside of here. Like, that's the whole thing the jury's supposed to do. If you put a reasonable doubt into a jury, that's all you need. And then you also get the glove. How did the glove get here? When they showed the glove, they was like, if the glove was just that bloody, why wasn't it damp? The glove was dry and all this type shit. And that's when Christopher Darden, from the way Marcia Clark says it, yo, keep the glove out. We don't need to do the glove. Christopher Darden, he wanted to prove to Johnnie Cochran that he was just a good enough prosecutor, because it was a thing where I think he wanted to work for Johnny's office and he didn't cut. So he wanted to prove, he had a personal vendetta to try to prove to Johnnie Cochran that he was a great prosecutor. And he was like, yo, let's pull out the glove. We get the famous scene of they putting the glove on, gloves don't fit, and then
must have quit.
Yeah, the glove don't fit, you must have quit. Then you get that whole thing. So then you get the whole thing of OJ getting off. Okay. Now let's get into the shits.
Yeah.
Now my whole thing of when I watched all of the evidence that was put out there, and notice that I kept saying they was able to put probable cause, they was able to put that shadow, like they was able to put that seed in your head of probable cause.
Yeah.
Even with that, I feel like they had a mountain of evidence on OJ as far as the time frame matched up before he left. The blood that was in the Bronco, all of a sudden. You had like everything to me lined up as in OJ doing it. But the whole thing with the law is you have to convince 12 people.
Beyond reasonable doubt.
Yes. And what his lawyers was able to do, like Uncle Washington always say, he says a black man did not get off. He said OJ got off. He was like, and the reason OJ got off was the simple fact of he was able to afford the absolute best lawyers. That's what got him off. So from all of the mountain of evidence that we're able to see, whether it's OJ Made in America, whether it's OJ versus the People, whether it's any of the other documentaries that they put together that's showing you all the same evidence, all this evidence points. And then, like I say, the cut up hands that he had, the knuckle was swollen, like all of that shit. Because this is the thing that people seem to forget. But some of the shit that was found on the scene, OJ's DNA was on the scene.
Yeah.
So when you see his cut hands, that's how his blood was on Ron Goldman and on Nicole. So, but like I say, 12 jurors, you see, yo, you don't supposed to put no blanket over them. You don't supposed to take blood samples home. You don't supposed to touch evidence without gloves on. Like so much shit where they botched it. And I think a lot of the reasons why they botched a lot of that shit is because they never really covered crime scenes like that in that type of neighborhood.
Right.
So I think that the people that handled it, they botched a bunch of the shit because they wasn't used to doing that type shit. Now, at the end of the day, is OJ found not guilty for murdering Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman? Yes. But me personally, do I think he did it? From all the evidence that I've seen, just the way that I interpret it, I felt that he did it.
I don't think OJ did it. I think that what they didn't talk about was all of the different shit that Nicole Brown was into herself. She was not like she was not this normal chick who just came into, some money, marrying O.J. Simpson and all this other shit. Like, we got to remember, like, once they get to these certain situations, like, they live a totally different life. We've heard stories about Nicole Simpson sleeping with other men. We've heard stories about her being with other men. We've heard stories about her doing drugs and all kind of different shit. There is a theory out there that I've seen on a documentary that has given me probably the best story of everything that could possibly happen. The documentary is blanking, but they said that somehow she was involved with the mob. Some weird way or another, like she has something to do with the mob. And so basically what they're saying is that she got killed before OJ got there. And OJ just so happened to walk in on them being, you know what I'm saying, like just lifeless bodies. Now, my thing is the story around that, not the theory itself, but just the story and the way that they put everything together in the documentary had gave me like, maybe OJ didn't do it. The theory itself to me really don't make sense because OJ wouldn't have cuts and shit on his hand. To be honest with you, I think that what happened was Ron Goldman killed Nicole Simpson. OJ came in and seen that Nicole Simpson was getting murdered or got murdered and fought Ron Goldman and killed Ron Goldman. I don't think he killed Nicole Simpson. That's my theory. And he possibly could have, you know what I'm saying, after fighting off Ron Goldman and doing whatever, you know, you punch a motherfucker enough, especially a motherfucker like OJ, you know, OJ is strong as shit. So, you know what I'm saying, he probably done busted up his knuckles fighting this motherfucker and beating him up. And, you know what I'm saying, he probably went and back and tried to make sure she was okay, and that's how his blood ended up on her. But like I said, that's my theory, though.
And then, like, I remember after this came out, so this probably happened like 2017, he did an interview for Fox.
Mm-hmm.
He basically, because he was doing his book of If I Did It type of shit.
Yeah, If I Killed Her.
And this motherfucker explained, I felt like, and I posted this on my social media after I seen it, I felt like he did a full confession on TV that day. Because he was like,
I don't think so.
He was like,
I think he was selling the book.
He was like, if I pulled up, and he was like, you know, I pulled up on the side street, whatever, I get out, you know, I see Ronald Goldman. He was like, Ronald Goldman stepped up to me and got in a karate stance and all this type shit. And it's like he got into like all of these details, and I'm like, yo, OJ never really came off as a creative guy.
100%.
I don't think he's making this shit up that he's saying.
I do. I think that all that shit was written. Think about it. If Ron Goldman came up to him, right, and they got into an altercation, first and foremost, it's remember, we talking about OJ. Ron Goldman wasn't going to be trying to fight fucking OJ. He probably looking like, oh shit, it's OJ Simpson. And he probably trying to be buddy-buddy with this motherfucker. If he just walked up on him, you know what I'm saying?
The reason
you think he ain't asked Nicole for OJ to sign shit? You think he ain't asked Nicole to try to get a picture with OJ?
No, I don't think so. And I tell you what, I also think that Ron Goldman was like, what, 24, some shit like that. Like he was a young guy.
He still knew who OJ was.
Huh?
He still knew who OJ was.
He might knew who OJ was, and he probably looked at OJ as an old man, and you can't fuck with me now.
Listen,
I guarantee you, he has confidence of like, yo, I will beat your old ass.
You got to remember though, this ain't no regular old ass man. We're talking about a celebrity. At the time when celebrities was the shit, we didn't know nothing about what was going. It ain't like the celebrities now. Like if you see a celebrity now, you just walk up to them, hey man, what's up? Can I take a pic? Like niggas don't get excited about celebrities how they did in the 90s.
But you also got to remember she worked with Ron Goldman, so she's probably shared stories.
And that's my point.
OJ beating his ass, and probably he just felt like, oh, well, if you over here, you see me, because I'm pretty sure it got tense right off the rip.
So just think about this though. Think about the way, like how you just said, he shared stories and all that, right? I mean, she shared all these stories. Think about this. She called the police, and the police treated OJ a certain way. The police, and they whooping niggas' asses across the street, but they treat OJ a specific way. Imagine how this nigga feels when he sees OJ. He's not looking at OJ like, oh man, I'm gonna bust you up. No, he's looking at OJ like, oh shit, that's OJ. He probably fucking Nicole Simpson because OJ fucked her.
Possibly, but the thing is, it seems like he probably had feelings for Nicole. So with him seeing OJ, he wouldn't look at him like a fanboy. He would look at OJ like, you're a fucking asshole for beating the shit out of this quote unquote beautiful lady. You know what I'm saying? So he probably looked at it like, well, if he come over here to beat your ass, I'm not gonna let him beat your ass, especially while I'm here, type of thing. Yeah. Like, so I feel like my whole theory of thinking, because my thing is, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm smart enough to see that all the evidence that they had is still evidence, but it's not up to the defense attorney. Well, it's the defense attorney's job to throw, probable cause in there. And they was able to do that shit so well that they was able to get these 12 people to say not guilty when it comes to OJ. So my initial thought, because I was the guy, like growing up, like before I started really like watching this shit, like especially this OJ Made in America, I was the guy that was like, I felt like OJ did it, but like at the same time, it was like, because initially I was like, oh man, he didn't do that. They were just trying to set him up. They were just trying to ruin, another black guy. But then once I really got to watching it and really paying attention to shit, and then actually looking at other shit, and it's like, yo, like this motherfucker did it, man. Like I like to me, like all the evidence there, Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden, they blew their shot. They that's just like Stephen A. Smith said. Stephen A. Smith said, look, there is no way in hell. He said, I would have lost that case with that type of evidence they had, motherfucker. So then you also got to consider, and people got to understand, there's a difference between a criminal trial and a civil trial. Yeah. Because he was found not guilty there, but he was found guilty in a civil trial. Now, what did that do? Well, for number one, it's double jeopardy. Even if OJ was to say, because the thing about the civil trial was the whole fact of they found him guilty for killing her, but that he had to pay compensation because they can't.
Civil trial is money, it's monetary.
Yeah, it's monetary. So people got to understand, like, sometimes civil cases, sometimes people just settle to settle. Just to get it over with. OJ didn't settle to settle. OJ lost. So,
and you also got to remember that the white people didn't want OJ to get off. So when OJ got off on the criminal trial, that once again, you got to remember, this changes everything, because we, don't leave out the fact, and this is for the listeners, this is not for Esdot Foster, but this is for the listeners, don't leave out the fact that at the time we have a lot of racial tension going on. Oh, that's so with that racial tension, that criminal trial could possibly explode and spread that out throughout California and everywhere else, because it wasn't just in California. It was a lot of different fucking places that was going off about this and paying attention to this. And so when OJ got off, nobody was cheering on the fact that OJ got off. Like you said, Uncle Washington said, OJ won that trial as OJ. He didn't win as a black man, but we looked at it as a black man finally possibly did something and didn't go to jail for it. This may be one of the only times in history that a black man is, like you said, undoubtedly committed a crime and didn't face the penalty for
it. And then what white people didn't understand was the fact of, it wasn't just the Latasha Harding thing. It wasn't just the cops getting off of beating Rodney King. It's the fact of all the injustice that's been going on to black people for 400 years. Yep. And the justice system is set up for black people to fail. And this was really the first example of the justice system being used the way that they created it. This is the way y'all created the system. Yep. We were able to use the system that you put in front of us and still beat y'all at your own system and get off for murdering 2 white people. Now,
100%.
Let me say this, and I said this on that One Stone at a Time podcast. I feel bad for the Brown family and the Goldman family. I do. They lost someone, and they didn't get any justice for the person that they lost. It's not their fault. All the shit that's been going on for 400 years, but I mean them personally. Mm-hmm. So I feel bad for them. But at the same time, what a lot of people celebrated was just the fact of we took the system that was given to us and a black man was able to win. And this is that, well, as many people that white people has killed, you know, and y'all got away with it. Like, this is like our payback type of thing. Because a lot of black people was rubbing it in white people's faces and they was cheering and they was all this type shit. But then you also had the black people that were like Dr. Harry Edwards and shit like that. Like, yo, this motherfucker don't even care about black people.
Right.
Like, why? Like, whether he beat the system or not, you know, these type people that was wanting OJ to help during the civil rights movement, wanting OJ to boycott the Olympics and all that type of shit, they're looking at this motherfucker like, I'm not cheering for you for getting off for killing these 2 white people, because the thing is, all of a sudden, OJ started to, during this trial, he started to refer himself as a black man. And they're like, oh, so now you want to be a black man. You want to be a black man now because all the white people turned their back on you. Trial.
Well, I don't think he did that out of his own thing. I think that was something that was his prosecution team. I mean, his defense team was like, hey, you need to lean in on this. Regardless of what they say, you need to lean in on this, because right now, the way things are going, we can use this to our advantage. And that's why I keep mentioning the fact that racial tensions were so high, because I think that was the factor that really got OJ off in this whole trial. I think that if the verdict for the Rodney King beating, if that would have happened afterwards, I think OJ would have went to jail.
I feel the same way, 100%. I feel the same way. If those cops would have been, or if those cops would have been found guilty, I think that it's gonna also flip that thing as well. Because I feel like
I'm going to be done.
Like what you said, that I also feel like if it would have happened afterwards, I feel you're right. But then I also feel like if they would have been found guilty before OJ was found not guilty, and because a lot of that shit, people don't understand that all of that shit ties in to that whole trial. So that's just my initial thinking of it. And then, like I said, but also something else to point out during that trial that was just funny. Like Carl Douglas was telling the story of when and I don't know why they were doing this in the first place. So they went to OJ's house, and OJ had a whole bunch of pictures of white people, him fishing and golf clubs and all type of shit. And they took all of that shit down to put all these pictures of black people and fucking African medallions and all types of shit. That shit was hilarious. Marsha Clark was like, that shit wasn't here. And it was so funny because she was like, man, that shit was not here, man. I thought that was so funny how they was able to flip that shit. But then what ended up happening to OJ, because like, dude, OJ ended up never been to no black church. Goes to a black church. Now he want to embrace being black and shit. And then it's just like, yo, like, and then like, that's when it really, really took this different turn, because OJ left Los Angeles and moved to probably the absolute worst place for this motherfucker to move. This motherfucker goes to Miami. This motherfucker moves to Miami, starts fucking rapping, fucking all the damn white girls. And we're talking about the white girls that like marry dudes on fucking death row and shit. Like, I don't fucking get this shit, because my whole thing is you would think now the total opposite would happen. The white girl be running from O.J. Simpson.
No, remember, you got to remember, he wasn't guilty. He wasn't guilty.
But some of them felt like this rush of, oh, this motherfucker was on a murder trial.
Mm-hmm.
And some people gravitate towards like violent people like that.
Yeah.
So I think that shit excited them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just so crazy to watch like all of the shit. And then OJ started really hanging around. Like, we ain't talking about just your rando black people. Like, motherfuckers like you, we go to work every day, we take care of our kids, all this shit like that. This motherfucker hang around real gangsters, real motherfuckers that rob people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he starts really hanging, like he really embraced this whole black thing, like all of a sudden. Because the thing
but even then, this is how once again, this is how you know it's not him. Because think about how we just seen this shit happening. He going around black people, right? And he's trying to get this image of being black. He's trying to get this whole image of, oh, I'm down with the cause. He don't go to, like you said, normal black people, or he don't go to where the educated black people is, like, you know what I'm saying, people of his status and like that. This nigga goes to the stereotypical route and go hang with gangsters. He go to the stereotypical route and go fucking white girls.
Oh yeah, and then it was so wild because then he ended up, because and there's something else that we didn't mention that was during the trial was OJ was broke.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way OJ could make money to pay his lawyers was he was signing memorabilia in jail.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, so that was a way that he was able to keep money. But then he lost the civil case. When he lost the civil case, he didn't have no money to pay the Goldmans, and he didn't have no income because it was in the rule. Now, I don't think it was in the rule book, but I think this is the first time this ever happened. One way that the Goldmans tried to get money was they tried to get OJ's pension.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the NFL wrote in the rule books if a motherfucker do some bad shit, they keep their pension. I just think that it's just something that the NFL has where it's like nobody can get your pension but kids.
Right.
So the Goldmans tried to get the NFL to sign over his pension, and the NFL was like, nah, that ain't how this shit works. So anything OJ did, the Goldman family got it.
Mm-hmm.
So OJ did all of this under the, you know what I'm saying, under the radar shit to get money because he couldn't never get a job. Even when he did a book deal, when he did that book, the Goldman family got the money for the book. OJ didn't get money for that book. So I bring all that shit up to say, like, when he lost all his shit, OJ, and this is another thing that was so crazy. He had to give up his Heisman Trophy. Shit was weird as fuck. It's like they just came up with these special rules of shit of like, how do you win a Heisman Trophy?
Mm-hmm.
You lose because you ain't got no money and you got to give it up. Like,
what? Well, you gotta remember, like they knew, and this is why I say I think that they gave him that trial because everything that was happening to him afterwards, it just seemed like they was just constantly on his ass about him getting off of his trial. Even the second time he went to jail, I think that's the reason that he was guilty in the second time, because they was like, yo, we fucked up the first time. We didn't get you that first time. The second time, you taking your ass to jail. We gonna get you this second time.
But let's tell the people why this motherfucker went to jail though. So that's why I brought up the memorabilia shit. So this motherfucker gets on the line with this person from and they plan to meet in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So he plans to meet this guy in Las Vegas, and OJ brought his gangsters from Miami. Like,
oh my God. And you know what? Them was the wrong gangsters to bring.
Oh yeah.
All them niggas was in the geriatric club, man.
Yeah, he was not good, but the thing is, they was able to mooch off of a dude that can get them in places that they never could get. So they was using OJ, and OJ was using them. They was really using each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so OJ's looking at it like, yo, I'm not paying this dude to get my own shit back.
Right.
So OJ whole plan was like, yo, I'm not stealing shit. It's mine. I'm just taking my shit back. So technically, the way kidnap works by law, if you have motherfuckers in a room and you got a weapon and you say you can't leave this room,
that's kidnapping.
Kidnapping. They got it on tape of them saying you ain't going nowhere. And once
they also got him on tape saying, "Give me my shit, sucker." Man, what goddamn 70s movie was that motherfucker watching before they went in there, man?
Hey, but he was watching them and get you, sucker, man. With Jim Brown.
That nigga said, "I want my shit, sucker. Get out of here, man." This nigga used sucker in the robbery.
Hey, that shit was funny as fuck. So then, like you said, he was found guilty. And then the thing is, I can't remember it 100%, but like the judge was, saying some shit. Because it was like, I think the most that you could have got for that crime, it was something crazy. Like, not crazy. I mean, it was something simple like 2 years, 4 years, like that. They threw the book at OJ. He ended up getting like 12 or 15 or some shit.
Yeah, I told you, it was that first trial. It was like, yo, you gonna pay for what the fuck you did, bro.
Yeah, and then like so, and then they asked the Goldman guy, about that, and he was just like, yo, like that's even with him going to jail for that, like that still doesn't justify the murder of my son, like all that time. So, like. OJ ended up getting and all that type shit. And now we got the OJ that say hello Twitter world and all this type shit, which is crazy.
That's my favorite OJ.
But okay, then before we get to that, now when I was hyping this up and I said he got some people famous that never would have been famous.
Yeah.
So we gotta address this Kardashian thing real quick. Now, rumor
I can't agree with you on that, but go ahead. I'm telling you it's not OJ.
Okay, rumor goes, that Chris smashing OJ.
Mm-hmm. And Chloe is supposed to be his daughter.
My thing is, I'm caught in the middle. Because it's like, when you look at Robert Kardashian and you look at Kim and Kourtney, Kim and Kourtney look the same. And they look like their mom.
No. You got to look at them pre-surgery.
Yeah.
All three of them look Arabic.
They look
just like Rob Kardashian.
But this is what I mean by look alike. What I mean by look alike is they favor they look like sisters. Chloe don't look nothing like these bitches, and she was
the last. Remember, she was the last one. If you go back to them pre-pictures, they all look the same. Even their mama don't look like that for real. She had surgery too. If you look at all them pre-surgeries, I'm telling you, all them motherfuckers look like Rob Kardashian.
The reason I said it because a lot of people always singled out Chloe. Number one, because she was the last.
Yep.
Number two, the time table kind of matched up, and then
she was tallest.
A little darker and she was taller. Now he shot that down by saying that he never smashed Chris, which he's never going to admit that he did. Because then there's also this other conspiracy. I don't know if you've seen it. This wasn't in the OJ Made in America. Right. This was some other documentary shit. And they was talking about the bag. When OJ got back from Detroit, Robert went over and OJ had a bag. OJ now the camera got OJ sitting the bag down. And Robert doing the sneak and grab
to move it, yeah.
And the bag is never to be seen again.
Right.
So some people think that was the clothes that he had on when he murdered Nicole and Goldman. And Robert was the one who stashed away the evidence or burnt or whatever he did with that bag. Like I said, that bag never to be seen again.
Yeah.
But like the Kardashian family, what ended up happening was with Robert defending OJ, and Chris' name is being mentioned in this whole little thing. And then Chris also marrying, a former, Olympic god. I mean, people love Bruce Jenner. Like, Bruce Jenner was one of the first, like, athletic white dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Shit,
like,
he was one of the first motherfuckers on the Wheaties box.
Yeah, like back then, like motherfuckers, like we're talking about back then. Like that dude was the deal back then.
Yeah.
So for Chris to be able to pull, a Bruce Jenner at that time, that was the big deal. So then you get that, and then you get the whole little thing of this family just being able to, because Robert, he died, and I'm pretty sure that he had a pretty good, life insurance policy.
Oh, that motherfucker had money.
Yeah, but that OJ trial, like, he got a lot of that shit too.
He got that money.
So the family was able to travel in these different circles, and then Kim was able to meet Ray J, and then she blew the whole spot up. That's a totally different story. But before we get to the Fire Flame, was there anything else you wanted to mention about this?
Yeah.
About this?
OJ didn't make that family famous, man. Ray J made that family famous. You know what I'm saying? Ray J, he plugged Kim up, and then after that, they blew up. I think OJ, when you go back to this trial and you remember, like, not a lot of people even remember Rob Kardashian. Everybody remembered Johnny Cochran. You know what I'm saying? So I think when Kim was Paris Hilton's assistant and she was messing with Nick Cannon and all them people, once she got done doing that, and then she finally got, that little taste of the celebrity life, you know what I'm saying? Ray J was like, hey, let's make this tape and I'm going to make you famous. And he did that.
I don't know if he necessarily said, yo, this tape is going to make you famous. I think that
if you know Ray J said something like that. He definitely said something like that.
No, I'm not, but I'm not saying that OJ made him famous. What I'm saying is, like, I still feel that name being attached to that trial.
Oh, yeah.
I think it gives it a boost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think that nobody would even give a damn about the Kardashian name if it wasn't first linked to that trial, but also because I agree
with you,
like even though she was with Bruce, like I don't think that Bruce had like that. Bruce had some cachet, but then at the same time, like you said, he was on the Wheaties box. It wasn't the same because it was Olympics. Like, I mean, how many motherfuckers run around here as great as he is, or great as he was, however you want to call it? We don't run around here talking about Michael Phelps like that.
Shit, we don't even talk about Michael Johnson like that.
We didn't even really care about Carl Lewis like that.
That's what I'm saying.
So I feel like his name being linked to that trial gave that family name a boost. But like I said, what took it over the top was the Ray J Kim thing.
Oh yeah, Ray J made billionaires.
But then at the same time, I think that without that Robert involvement in that trial and him dying in the life insurance, I think that put them in places to be friends with the Hiltons.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I don't think that they would have been hanging around the Hiltons if that shit didn't happen.
They wouldn't have been able to afford
it. That's what I mean. That's what I mean,
okay,
right?
Yeah. Okay, I feel you. So Fire Flame, man, what you got?
Oh man, 5, man. Fuck. Man, this was like the
best. I already knew, bro. I already knew.
Like, this documentary, it was so much fucking shit. Like I said in the beginning, man, it gives you Black history. It gives you American history. It gives you social justice. It gives you it gives you football. It gives you great old footage of a great running back. Like, dude, it gives you entertainment. Like, Carl Douglas was like the funniest motherfucker ever in this shit.
Yeah.
And then his one friend that had the voice, like, that dude was entertaining. Like, even the fact that they was able to get Mark Furman to come on here and fucking talk, knowing the way people view his ass. Like, everybody Well, okay, let me rephrase that. A lot of white people don't give a shit.
Right.
Mark Fuhrman is some people look at him. We, as the black people, look at Mark Fuhrman differently than white people do.
He ain't shit.
But for him to come on and actually talk about it, for them to get Marsha Clark to come on in and talk about all the shit that she did and all the type of stuff. Like, this documentary gave you everything that you needed. It was loaded with information. Even the damn shit when he was in Miami, that shit was hilarious as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, and then, like I say, I've always said this about OJ, and you disagree with me, but I said OJ is, how did I word it? He's the most entertaining. He's the most entertaining, most interesting, but an asshole, like all wrapped into one. And it's but like I say, like, even though he thinks the way he thinks, it still makes him an interesting guy. They're just like Trump.
Yeah.
Like, we might not like Trump, but the motherfucker is entertaining. Like,
he's entertaining as fuck.
He's entertaining. And like, that's how I feel about Orenthal James Simpson.
He caught that man by his government, man. Listen, man, I can't disagree with you on the Fire Flames, bro. I will give it a 5 as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? For all the reasons that you said, but for me, it was the contrast that they had between, you know, everything going on in society and OJ basically living his life. Like, you know, they talked about the athletes, the black athletes that came together, and you kind of seen that, you know what I'm saying, OJ didn't want to be a part of that. And like, in a way, it was like he was avoiding all of these things because he kind of knew that he was in a space where, you know, he wasn't looked at like everybody else. He wasn't a part of, you know what I'm saying, the black community. He didn't feel a part of the black community. And, you know, he was getting credit and he was getting love and all of these things outside of what the black community was getting. And for them to be able to constantly show that contrast all the way up until the end, to me, was amazing, because you kind of seen, excuse me, you kind of seen how true it was, you know what I'm saying, during the trial, the fact that all of a sudden he's switching over and he's talking about how pro-black he is, and he's trying to prove how pro-black he is after all of these years. And even going back to the fact of where he says, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Like, just showing those two things and just showing how, you know, showing who he really was, in a sense, was that he was a selfish, arrogant person, to the fact that, you know, he was going to do anything in his power to make sure he was always all right. So, I mean, I think that it showed so many different aspects of OJ's life and who OJ was, while also showing that contrast between everything that was going on at the time and then him basically being sheltered from it and him avoiding it at the same time. I think that it was put together well, man.
Yes, sir, man. Shout out to Ezra Elderman, man. Like, he put together a great thing. Like, he was able to pretty much get interviews from everybody. Like, it said that I don't think people really turned him down. Like, I think a lot of people really wanted to talk about it. So that was great to be able to get people on opposite sides, people that we didn't agree with.
Yeah.
It was a lot of the cops who strongly felt that he was guilty. He was able to get the dude that, okay, I'm sorry. He was able to get the girl at the time of when this was happening. It was a dude, the transition, be a girl, but the helicopter person, that was able to get the helicopter person that was filming the shit. So it was I was able to get everybody.
Yeah, I also think that what was so interesting about being able to get everybody is this trial was like fucking over 20 years old. This is something that happened a long fucking time ago. And at the time that they were probably making this, nobody was giving a fuck about an OJ at the time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody cared about this shit at the time. So for the fact that he can go get all these people and put all of this shit together and then make this something that, because you got to remember, when this shit came out, like, this was something everybody was watching. this ain't just something that people was like just passing by. Like this shit got high ratings when this shit was out. And so, you know what I'm saying, to make this something that's interesting again, or make this something that people are paying attention to again, was already a difficult task. But the fact that they did it and made it what it was, I mean, you got to applaud that.
Yes, sir. I agree. I agree with everything that you said, man. Everything that you said. So
this next one, man. Yo. Woo. Hey, listen. I have never thought about how accomplished this person was, and this next episode is going to be an appreciation episode. But I've never thought about how accomplished this person was and how much work this person has done. But when I tell you this, I almost said it. This person has been in so much, from TV to movies to commercials to, I mean, man, the motherfucker was in Star Wars, man.
Yo,
this is gonna be great.
No, this motherfucker is everything. You hear me? Everything. It's crazy. I heard an interview, and all I'm gonna say is, like, they never won an Oscar or anything.
Ever.
And he was asked about that. And he was like, I don't do art for rewards. He was like, I choose the film that I choose because I feel like I will have fun doing the character.
Listen, and he was like, it shows.
Yeah, he was like, some people ask him why he don't do more serious roles. You know, like a lot of the shit that he does is comedic. And he's like, yo, I do shit that I'm going to have fun doing.
Mm-hmm.
So he don't view and like, dude, like he's just done so much stuff. And like I told you, one of the movies, I won't say that because I need to leave suspense for when we get there.
Yeah.
But let's put it this way. At least one of his movies is you know, the greatest movies of all time that we're gonna do. Like, it's hard for him not to be in it because we think how much shit he's done. It's like, don't be surprised if you haven't seen him in the movie. And he has so many different relationships with so many different directors and writers and producers and stuff. And it's just like, I mean, he's a whole legend on Earth, man. Whole legend on Earth.
Yeah, that's a fact. And listen, man, when I say like he's been in damn near everything, he's done everything. Like, there's literally nothing that I don't think he can't do. So,
yep.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I just thought about this. We got to start calling this part the trailer, man.
Oh, the trailer to the next.
Yeah, we gotta start calling this part the trailer, man.
Yes, sir, man. Because it is, man. Because the whole thing is like, hopefully we are doing the things that are gravitating to the people to where they're like, yo, I can't wait till the next one.
Yeah,
and to give them that trailer, that preview to the next one, to be like, to build that anticipation, like, oh shit. Even no, because I think what makes it better is like when you able to hear what we're saying, like you can guess in your head of who it's going to be.
Yeah.
Some motherfuckers might know who we talking about.
You know what? Somebody got the Denzel one. I don't know what we said to give it away, but somebody got the Denzel one.
All right.
Somebody told me they said they listened to it and was like, yeah, I caught the Denzel one y'all did at the end. I was like, damn, how you catch that? But they was like, I ain't gonna tell you, but I knew it was Denzel though. So I don't know if they tell the truth or not, but they said they got the Denzel one.
Well, I mean, like, cause like the whole thing of trying to do this is like, you know, you sit there, because you want them to kind of know.
Yeah.
I say who it is.
And we doing it on the fly, so it ain't like we practiced this shit either.
Oh yeah, nah. Like we just like we said before in the past, like we got our next couple of movies lined up.
Yeah.
You know, and what we gotta do an adjustment, we're gonna have to talk about off air, because one of the movies, I don't know why they moved it. like for some odd reason. Like it was a joint that's supposed to come out on Prime.
Oh no, I know, but listen, we might have a great replacement for it, so I got you.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll talk about that. But man, all I'm gonna say, man, I'm not gonna go into it. I'm gonna get like you, man. Yo, just check out the 28 Minutes or Less podcast. Check out the Stolen Time podcast.
Yep.
It's on all major platforms. You can find the shit anywhere. Google it, you'll find it.
Yeah, man. Check me out on Twitter, man. I'm about to say S.Foster. Check me out on Twitter, man. @Scoots Bronson. You know what I'm saying? Go check out 15 Minutes of Fame, man. Another episode is coming very soon. Make sure you go check out Isolated Society as well. I was off because of the holidays. I should have mentioned that, but I'm coming back next week, Thursday at 9 p.m. You can listen to it live, or Friday, and every day after that you can listen to the replay. And not only that, man, go to the VA Pod Watch group on Facebook. Make sure you send us an invite so we can add you in. We're trying to get up to at least 100 people starting off so we can start doing our live watch parties. You know what I'm saying? We want to be able to interact with our listeners and, you know, get to know y'all, man, and all that. And make sure you leave a review, whether it's 5 stars or 1 star. We are going to stars, 5 stars or 1 star. We're going to read it regardless because we want to show y'all that we love everything that y'all do for us and we appreciate the feedback.
Yes, sir. Appreciate everybody, man.
Yes, sir, man. And with that said, man, like I said in Hollywood, it's a wrap.
Cut.